Okay, I think okay. Now the meeting is being recorded. Now, firstly, the highest ranking officer in the Toastmaster International, Margaret Page, TTM International President of Toastmaster International. Let's welcome her. Yes. Next, we also have our Toastmaster International Region 13 advisor, Mr. Paul Kim Shong, TTM Past International Director with us here. Welcome, Kim Shong. And next, the highest ranking officer in District 80 Toastmaster International, Kathy To, TTM, District 80 Director. Round of applause for all of them. Welcome. Great, thank you. Now, to kick off this afternoon session, let me now invite the Division G Director, Margaret Low, SR5, to give the opening address. Margaret, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Dex. Good afternoon, good evening, all our special guests, and especially to Toastmasters International President, Distinguished Toastmaster Margaret Page, past and present officers, welcome. Driving Toastmasters International vision to make this platform where leaders are made. Members of one corporate club embarked on a pilot project to groom a new generation of leaders in speech contests and club offices. This initiative birthed from the vision to equip contestants with the skills that can put them on the world stage. On this note, I am very proud to state that both participants and trainers have benefited fully from this program, and they have advanced well into the higher levels of the contest. A special mention to one trainer, Distinguished Toastmaster James Clifton. He ascended to the District 80 and emerged champion for table topics contest and first runner-up for the speech evaluation. A double win for James. Congratulations. Another trainer, Distinguished Toastmaster Kim Ng, emerged the finalist at the 2021 World Championship of Public Speaking representing Singapore. We are immensely proud of them. Congratulations to you too, Kim. At the leadership front, the club officers were equipped with skills and knowledge to run a club that brings value to each member and create a succession of leaders from new members. This evolved to the training of area directors, division directors for their respective roles. This has further expanded to the current version that you see today. In the last 4 sessions, we heard leaders from my diverse background sharing their valuable experiences. We hope that District 80 and Toastmasters at large can continue to build on this success and see new generations of leaders across the district, possibly across the world. It is our honor to have International President, Toastmasters International, Distinguished Toastmaster Margaret Page to grace this occasion. We look forward to a fulfilling Toastmasters journey for all of us. With that, I declare the final session and the grand finale for the Executive Leadership Incubator open. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Margaret, for setting the tone for the afternoon. And now it is time we have been waiting for. The highest rank officer on the Toastmaster Board of Directors, Margaret Page, TTM. She is a member of 3 Toastmaster clubs, a lifelong entrepreneur and investor. Page has founded or co-founded numerous companies. She is particularly focused on championing women, especially those running for political office or seeking equal representation on volunteer and corporate boards. Margaret Page, all the way from Canada. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, Singapore, District 80. It's an absolute delight to be here. You know, often when I am visiting clubs around the world and they'll say, the president, and then I'm ready, poised, and they actually mean the club president. Well, here I am with you this evening in your division, and I'm having the same experience, except when they say Margaret, I'm ready and poised, but they're meaning Margaret Lowe. And thank you for all that you have done to contribute. I really think it is what I refer to as the way of Toastmasters, the W-A-Y, the way of Toastmasters. So what does the W stand for? The W stands for why. In Toastmasters, which is very different than many other organizations, we are crystal clear on the why. The why is about empowering individuals to be effective communicators and leaders. We're clear on that. We know that. Everyone comes to us, they would like to be better in some way, to make a difference in their world in some way. The A for the W-A-Y of Toastmasters stands for alchemy. Now, many of you have probably read the book, The Alchemist, or heard the book, The Alchemist, a great novel. And in there, they were seeking the alchemists. Alchemists are people that can turn base metals into gold, or so it is thought. And of course, now in our age, it is about youth and life, the fountain of youth, uncovering that. But the alchemy that happens in Toastmasters is you come into Toastmasters to receive something. You come to improve yourself, as I just mentioned, the why. And then this alchemy happens, and before you know it, you're giving, as our trainers have given and received so much in return. It's really a circular, you attempt to give, but you get so much more in return. So definitely alchemy happens in Toastmasters all the time, where people are giving and giving so much. Just this morning, I spoke to the district director of District 1110, who lives in Romania, and he shared with me that 10,000 refugees had crossed the border from the Ukraine to Romania. And he shared that Toastmasters in Romania and Hungary have opened up their homes to the Toastmasters that have left Ukraine. The tears just rolled down my cheeks when I thought about the members having to leave their homes, leave their possessions, that their currency is totally devalued. And so what they thought they might have had in savings totally diminished. But here there were Toastmasters in Romania opening up their homes and saying, come live with us. We'll take care of you until it's safe for you to go back, or until you get started here. That's the kind of alchemy. That's the W-A-Y of Toastmasters. The U In the way of Toastmasters, it's about you. It's about you. Toastmasters is self-paced, and we are responsible for our own growth. We are responsible for traveling as quick or as far as we can in this amazing model that serves all cultures, all religions, all political thought processes, all age groups from 18 up to 100. We have a Toastmaster that's 100. And it's all about you. Yes. And why do we set the bar so high? It's about the person you become because you've stretched yourself and you're willing to raise yourself up and push that bar even further for the next generation, those that come after us. A district governor, of course, we call them district directors now, and I'd like to thank Kathy for being with us here this evening. But they were influential in my early days in Toastmasters. In fact, when I became an area director, the district governor, district director today, said these words that still speak to me very near and dear to my heart. And he said this, he said, "We owe it to those that came before us to leave the organization in better shape than we found it. So those that come after us will have a place to grow and learn." And I think you have demonstrated this so effectively. Thank you, Division G and all the other trainers here. I'd like to now turn it back to our Toastmaster of the day to lead us in what I think will be an exciting program. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret Page. May I just, moving from this point onwards, address you by Page? Is it okay? So that when I call Margaret, you won't jug up. Well, thank you once again for your inspiring words and showing us the way. Now, it's a rare opportunity for the international president to join us at one of our events. You can imagine during the pre-COVID-19 days, such appearance is not going to be easy. Hence, we will seize the opportunity to chat with her for the next 25 minutes. I am sure all the men in this room would like this opportunity to chat with her, but only one lucky man is chosen. And who is he? I'm now going to introduce to you this handsome and eloquent gentleman. He's the CEO of a company. He's the main organizer for today's event. He's also our immediate past Division G director. Let's welcome Terence Nunes, DTM. Spotlight on Paige and Terence.
Thank you very much. Well, actually, it's not luck because I did the program.
Hard work, right? Hard work gets you there, Terence. Good job.
Thank you very much. So this session, basically, for those of you who have not seen the details of our program, basically it's a sort of like what we do in Singapore. You know, the civil service, this fireside chat with ministers. Well, instead of the minister, we have our international president, who is a lot harder to get hold of than our minister. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask a few questions to get her insights of how things are. But before we start, I think it is important for us to remember that even as we are having this session here, we have to remember that there is a war going on in Ukraine, a war that involves Toastmasters as well, people, civilians. So there is a certain gravity to what we do. It doesn't mean that what we are here in Toastmasters means nothing. It means that whatever we do is a means to touch people in the right way. This program is not something that we do on a whim. It is not just a hobby. It is a means to being greater versions of ourselves. Now, enough about me. Now let's talk about our international president, Margaret. You are the international president of Toastmasters, everyone knows that, and you have a very high profile. That high profile comes with certain assumptions. Could you share with us one thing about yourself that most people did not expect of you?
Well, most of the time people don't tell me what they did not expect of me, but I have been speaking in locations and people make the assumption that I am American, and I am not. I am a Canadian. So they had the 4th of July, the American flag, and but I am truly indeed Canadian. But perhaps your audience can tell us what assumptions they have about me.
That's a great idea. Does anyone want to say anything?
Put it in the chat, please, or raise your hand. Well, they've made no.
Okay, Margaret, just take over. Margaret Lowe, please take over for a while. I'm having problems with my battery. Just give me a moment. Okay, a few seconds.
Margaret, we would see you as the champion of women representative in the boardroom and an epitome of power and grace.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. Do you know, Toastmasters really has forged ahead with this much sooner than most other organizations. We actually had more females on the board in 1998. And this coming July will be the first time that Rotary International will have a female president. I am the 7th female president. And right now we currently have more females on the board of directors than we have males. And I think you have definitely 3 females leading District 80. I think the Toastmasters program is really designed well, effectively for women, because it's baby steps, tiny steps. You can grow at your own pace. You don't have to take giant leaps if you choose not to, but if you want to, they're available for you. So it really serves women well. And what the world needs is more leaders, both men and women leaders. Now, having said that about gender, about male and female, the current young people today don't want to be distinguished between male and female. They think it's a continuum. It's a continuum from feminine to masculine, but it's not about gender. So it will be interesting in the years to come how we will define ourselves and look at ourselves. I have another assumption that I think that sometimes people have. Sometimes, you know, the governing documents are 300 some pages, and it changes very frequently. The board of directors is polishing up policy all the time because it's misunderstood in various parts of the world or no longer serves us. And there's a host of reasons. New challenges come up, such as hybrid meetings or virtual meetings, all need to be addressed. So sometimes people make the assumption that I know it off by heart and that I can dictate exactly what policy.
The paperwork. What's the story on the interviews?
What's the story on the interviews?
Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So apparently I plugged it into the wrong plug.
That's okay.
Yeah, normally I'm very well prepared, but today it's all Margaret's fault. The other Margaret. Okay, so the thing is that, you know, Singapore audiences, you know, it takes time for them to warm up because they're all very shy. I'm different, I'm Eurasian, so I have no sense of shame.
Well, Terence, you brought up a good point though when you said it's all Margaret's fault. You see, that's true. That's often an assumption that it's my fault. Thanks for allowing me that humor.
Don't worry. One of the things about leadership is that when things go wrong, always have someone to blame still.
We have a question from one of the ladies in the room, and she feels that Toastmasters have given a voice to women in particular. As you said, now we are, the younger generation has a different opinion on the gender equality or the lack of it. But we understand that the views that comes from the women affects their lives, affects their emotions and the circumstances they are in. Now, how do you think being a Toastmaster, especially someone in the leadership position of your level, how does that give you a voice? Or how does that give women in general a voice?
Well, of course, when we're approached by the media or other organizations, they're always asking, because I'm female, you know, for me to deliver a speech about empowering women, or that, looking at it through that lens. And so I continue to build and grow in that area. But my feeling is I never was held back at any time in my Toastmasters journey because of my gender. And so I've just been blessed. And at the board table, it is the same way. However, I will say, when I came to the executive committee, Lark Doley was already on the executive committee. So when I joined as second vice president, it was the first time in our history that we had had 2 females on the executive committee. And this year is the very first time that we have 3 females on the executive committee. Never in history have we had that in Toastmasters. So we continue to break new ground, and it's very exciting. The men on the executive committee and the men in the board, they appreciate the women, and the women appreciate the men, because we all have a different lens. Just like someone that comes from Singapore may have a different viewpoint than someone from Malaysia or someone from China or Sri Lanka or the United States. And we need all those viewpoints and those aspects to make better decisions. Thank you for that, Margaret.
Wonderful. Now, the thing is that as a serial entrepreneur, right, you currently run a property management company, 2 businesses that engage in executive coaching. You know, we've done our homework. How has that experience shaped your Toastmasters journey? Because you came in with all that experience, with all that.
Yes, but it was the driver to get me in the door of Toastmasters. So in 2001, I was asked to speak to an audience of 1,700 at a convention in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I couldn't even imagine. And I said no to the person that asked me, and of course, totally put it out of my head. And several months later, when the convention was there and I was there with my staff, we were at the, the round table in the banquet hall. And the person at the table beside us, whose stores were number 2 to ours being number 1, went up on stage and shared his team's success. And, my managers all looked at him and looked at me, and I was so mortified, absolutely humiliated, and felt about this big because I had let them down. I wasn't able to share their story. I couldn't even imagine speaking in front of an audience. And it still took me 2 years to finally get into a Toastmasters meeting. I would wake up in the morning, put the blankets over my head. It's too rainy outside. I'll try next week. And it took great courage to step into that first meeting of Toastmasters. So Toastmasters has truly changed me, transformed me. But my entrepreneurial skills and attributes have served me well as I've gone up the leadership ranks. One of the challenges that some district leaders have and some club officers have that may be here today, perhaps area directors or division directors, is the budgeting, is the accounting piece of the work, that we're all responsible for the finances. to be judicious about it and to be wise and to be good stewards of the finances of what you're entrusted to. And if you have no prior experience, it becomes a huge learning curve. I was very fortunate that I had experience in that regard. So that was the easy part for me, but the more challenging part was being comfortable speaking in front of an audience and sharing a message that was worthwhile.
Wow, wonderful. Margaret, do you have a question?
Yes. Thank you for sharing, Margaret. It shows one thing from your experience, that regardless of where we come from, joining the Toastmasters movement, whether we were prolific speakers to begin with and used to addressing a crowd, or someone who is just starting out on addressing just a small community at a workplace, Toastmasters gives us some value at some point in time to add on to our lives and our daily applications. Can you share with us what do you think would be one skill that is foundational to being a better executive, a Toastmaster skill?
A Toastmaster skill it's about people. It's about people. You know, the businesses that I've run for decades, until I became a leader in Toastmasters, it was all about the profit. And, you know, I could replace people like this, you know, and so it was not about the people. It was about the business. It was about growing the business. Yes, I cared about the people that worked for me and cared deeply. However, they were replaceable. And once you become a leader in an organization that's a volunteer organization, you have to find different ways of interacting with people. You have to find different ways of supporting and developing people, nurturing people, caring for people, and finding out what motivates them. And it becomes all about people. Yes, we have to build results, of course. That's a key important piece of leadership, or two things are people and performance, or results and relationships, if you want, either way. But I just feel so enriched because of my Toastmasters experience that I have deeper relationships with my family, particularly my daughter. My relationship with my daughter was always a little bit fiery, but over the years, thanks to Toastmasters, it's improved and evolved. And but I think the essential three things that you get from Toastmasters is that ability one-on-one is far more elevated, and your networking is enriched and enhanced, and your ability to lead meetings, such as today, our group that are leading are doing it so effectively. And then, of course, standing up in front of the room and delivering. Those are the key areas. Thank you.
Wonderful. If I may ask, considering the situation we are in, you know, as we transition into a post-pandemic economy, there's been a lot of challenges in Toastmasters. I think we are all aware, right? Membership challenges, clubs. How do you see us improving member engagement and recruitment during this period and beyond? What are your thoughts? Perhaps you can share advices?
Sure. So my philosophy this year is this is a defining moment in our history, and truly we've never had a greater opportunity to grow the organization than we do right now, because geographic borders have been eliminated. It's no longer a matter of if someone will have to public speak someday in their life. Everyone needs to public speak because of the platforms we have out there. So the need for leadership, the need for better communicators has never been greater. And we have far more opportunities than we ever had. But it means a few things. It means having quality meetings. And in my opinion, being in a virtual meeting with the video off is not a quality meeting. We know when people have their videos off, they're not fully engaged, they're not fully present. I know because I've done it as well. I start reading an email, I start answering a letter, whatever the case may be. So if we are going to say to the world, this is what a quality meeting is like, because Toastmasters in a year has approximately 500,000 meetings around the world. And we know from our research that this is a quality virtual meeting. Then we have to be having quality virtual meetings around the world. And quality hybrid meetings. We have yet to delve into that adequately to be able to say this is a good hybrid meeting. So huge opportunities are right there in front of us, and we need to be able to grab onto them to enhance the brand and each of our investment in the Toastmaster program and in our own learning. So it is about engaging members. So the first is about quality meetings. The second is about filling our clubs. In Dr. Smedley's time, average clubs were 30 members per club, and we have lowered and lowered and lowered that over the years. And of course, the pandemic has really brutalized that with members per club. But we do have greater opportunity than before because you're no longer limited by geography. And so many specialty clubs are being built. I heard of one that just yesterday, a club specifically for people on social media. There's a club in Minnesota that's about for PRMs. There's 4 parliamentarian clubs built. So if you have an interest about some specific area, now you can gather like-minded people and develop a club around that. And there's also clubs. There's one club that has from 17 nations and another club from so many nations. So that's another aspect when you want to have global diversity and understanding, you can build a club with people from all over the world. So great opportunities. But the third piece is what you were really speaking about, Terence, which is about the community and engagement. So it's all about the community. It is all about the community. And what is the community you want to build? You have that choice. You get to define what your club is going to be like, what your area, your division, your district. You play a part in defining that. You set the standards, you set the culture. And I hope I am inspiring people around the world to raise the bar on that and to do similar things that they are doing in Romania right now, is lifting up others to the best of your ability. Why? Why? Because that will define who you are. The decisions you make, the paths you take will define what kind of individual and person you are. So set yourselves high for a high decision making and for paving the way for you to become the best possible you. But it means in that community, individualization and personalization. So when we went to technology, when technology became so available for us, when I was district governor, I could send out an email and people would respond, because that was 2012, 2013, and people still responded. In that 10 years since then, we get hundreds, the average person gets 175 emails a day, so they can ignore emails. And prior to 10 years ago, we were very personal. We did everything phoning people and talking to people. And so with the technology, the use of technology, we lost some of that. And we need to engage that and bring that back. And so if you're looking for leaders in the community, don't send out an email and expecting people to raise their hand. If you want judges, don't send out an email and asking people to raise your hand. Make the phone call. Say, I want you because of this reason. I want you because you're an ethical person. I want you because I know you're a good evaluator. I want you because you always show up and do a good job. That's the way. Individualization, personalization. Don't do this mass email things. It's not nearly as effective. And if you want those post-pandemic skills, it's all about your people skills in a post-pandemic world. Thanks, Terrence.
Thank you, Margaret. I couldn't have said it better. Toastmasters, what drives Toastmasters are really the members, because the members are the bloodline of Toastmasters International. Hence, the program, the education program to develop to develop this group of people. But what differentiates one program from another is really about that personal touch. Now, as we know, Toastmasters is a non-profit organization. How do you keep your team motivated without those financial incentives? What is that other thing that drives people?
They
your
are
opinion?
highly motivated, Margaret. I have to get them to slow down.
Oh, please
So
share with us your secret. How do you drive your team? We want to know.
Well, I will tell you, 20 years ago, the board of directors used to meet twice a year. They would meet in March and they would meet in August before the annual business meeting. And when technology opened up, the ability to talk, and of course it became less expensive to pick up the telephone and everything. And so over time that has been creeping up and creeping up and creeping up, and the board meets monthly. But then we have committee work and they do that weekly. And sometimes they do it 3 or 4 times a week. When we're prepping for a board meeting, sometimes we have 600 pages in background information and study reports and various material to prepare us for the decision making ahead. So my board of directors works endlessly, and what I need to do is not to get them motivated anymore. I need to say, come on, you need to take a purple day. We got that from the RA in Kayleen Ledger from Australia. She has purple days, and it's okay to take a purple day. That's a non-Toastmaster day, a non-Toastmaster day. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciate the fact that you coming down to us, and basically your presence here is an endorsement of this leadership program that we're trying to do. Because Toastmasters is where leaders are made, and we are trying to make leaders. Are there any last words you'd like to say about the program?
About what program, Terrence? You'll have to be specific.
Okay, I have to be precise. Yes, about our executive leader. I mean, the concept of having a leadership incubator in Toastmasters.
Well, the program Toastmasters is an executive leadership incubator. You lead at the club level, then you lead at the area level, you lead at the division level, then you lead at the district level. You constantly get more influence and larger circles. But the topics that you have selected for the education sessions that you have delivered here as well continues to add and enhance and add value to members. So I'm pleased and excited that you have found additional ways to serve your members.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Toastmaster today.
A round of applause. There are so much takeaways in the past 25 minutes. Thank you, Paige, for sharing your wisdom. We definitely like to hear more from you. Luck is when opportunity meets hard work. Terrence creates his own luck and became the luckiest man in this room to interview Paige. That's a leadership attribute. And when Terrence has a technical issue earlier, Margaret Lowe jumped in to manage the chat. With both Terrence and Margaret Lowe interviewing Paige, it gives greater dimension to the discussion. Leadership is about adaptability. The beauty of this workshop is seeing leadership in action. Well done, Terence and Margaret Lowe. I'd now like to invite our Division G Director, Margaret Lowe, to present a bouquet of flowers to Margaret Page. Zoom Master. This spotlight both Margarets. Zoom Master.
Margaret, once again, we're very privileged to have you and feel very honored that you are able to join us this afternoon. I would have loved to present you with a bouquet, but at this point in time,
The music's a bit too loud.
Volume, please.
Just give me a moment.
You can dance, Margaret.
Just envision ourselves dancing up the stage with a lovely big bouquet of flowers as a special thanks to distinguished Toastmaster Margaret Page for gracing this occasion with us. Toastmaster, would you please take a photo for us? Thank you.
Thank you for all the work that you have done to empower individuals to be more effective. Thank you so much.
Can we have both distinguished guests to look into your camera while we take a picture, please? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you. We are done.
Thank you, Margaret.
Could I just call the program Margaret and Margaret?
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Can I now also invite everyone in the room to turn on your camera? We will have a group photo taking.
Okay, everyone, let's capture this beautiful moment together. Put on your brightest smile, please, and hold it there. I need to go for 3 pages. 1, 2, 3. 1. And now the second page. I'm not sure which page you are, so hold your biggest smile. 1, 2, 3. 2. Those who have your camera turned off, please turn it on, please, so I can see your beautiful smile. 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Zoom Master. Organizing chair, Terence, we are slightly overrun. Will you still want to proceed with a 5 minutes break?
No, let's proceed.
We continue.
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's continue with the program. Now, next on our program is the program recap. Now, in the past 4 workshops of the Leadership Incubator, our esteemed speakers have shared a lot of wisdom on leadership. We are now going to revisit some of these ideas. So let us now welcome back our Division G Director, Margaret Lowe, who will bring us through this segment. Margaret, over to you.
Thank you once again, Toastmaster of the Day. Ladies and gentlemen, we had 4 fulfilling sessions. Let us have a recap of what our panel of speakers spoke on. In the first session, Kin explained that once we establish the conditions for leaders to appear, we can create these conditions in a controlled environment to nurture future leaders from promising candidates. Terence addressed the next step of building a team to support that vision of leadership and the means to identify and build this team. In session 2, Eric talked about leadership that requires courage, and that courage can be cultivated. Kwan Hong expounded on the values of leaders besides courage and how they are cultivated and nurtured in a system. In the third session, Gerald defined and differentiated between a leader and a manager and where they overlapped. Robert explained how we focus more on the outward manifestation of leadership when we actually require a greater cognizance of the inner aspects of leading with the heart. In the fourth session, Siva explained the various ways and means of having a vision with the end in mind and starting with an end in mind, with considerations to the various consequences at every stage. Su Chen detailed how to build a legacy by setting the culture, identifying and raising people, and creating a system. This afternoon, we have all the 8 trainers in our panel. Unfortunately, Kwan Hong is unable to be with us this afternoon because he have other business engagements, but we have lined up the 7 panelist trainers. Friends, fellow Toastmasters, these are the leaders that we have brought together in the same room for your benefit, with the diversity of experiences, cultural background, from leadership backgrounds, from military to a corporate setting. We are open for questions for you to draw on from their experiences and their expertise. I would like to invite you to key in your questions into the chat box, and I will be presenting those questions to our panelists. Okay, while we let the trainers settle in, I have one burning question. And I'd like to open that to the floor. To our panel of trainers, what do you think is the most useful leadership skill that one can possess, and something that we can all take time to develop? Perhaps I can open up to Kin.
Sure. Thank you, Margaret. I think certainly this will only be my point of view, but one of the things about leadership that, especially in Toastmasters, I don't see a lot of is the ability to delegate. So in that same sense, I mean, after all, we all have limited time, and especially when organizations get bigger and more challenging, then obviously there's a lot to be done. So very often, I know people in Toastmasters are doers. We like to do the project, do the evaluation, do the LE, do the workshop, organize this, do that. But we often forget that a big part of leadership is in delegating these tasks so that others can learn along the way while we keep a strategic overview of things. So on that note, I would say the most valuable skill would be persuasion, right? And that ability to delegate. I'd actually like to hear what Robert has to say about this.
Thank you. Thanks, Kin. Thanks for the reminder. You see a lot of giggles in the room. These are the guilty faces, myself included. Robert, what advice do you have for us?
We're just giggling because you don't delegate. Robert, you have to unmute yourself.
Well, I certainly must agree with you, Kin, on delegation. And I guess most times a lot of people got into leadership position while they remain in the manager position. And they continue to do the same thing as they were when they were managers. So a lot of these people needs to learn how to let go, and instead of, managing, start to lead. You manage project to make sure that the projects are going along as planned, but you must lead people. At the end of the day, a project gets done through people. So you must set the tone that is right for the people to learn what is needed to be done. And that's require a lot of encouragement, motivation, and inspiring from the leader. And what that's entail is that you need to take a step back and show the way by leading by example rather than going down to do the work. Because like you say, if you were the one doing the work, they will be the bystander and they will learn nothing. So you need to learn to delegate. And I agree with you totally on that.
Thank you, Robert.
Margaret, can I add on?
Please do.
Yeah. So personally, I think like what Kin say, influencing and persuading people to the people below you to do things. I think that's something that's very important, because I think that a lot of times we have great ideas, leaders have great ideas, but they can't get the buy-in from their members or perhaps their subordinates or their leaders, that means their bosses. And I think that a great leader is someone who can not just have good ideas, but be able to execute it by getting buy-ins, influencing people. The second area I would really say is managing expectation, managing conflicts in a team, because unfortunately, there will always be different opinions. And how do you, and in Toastmasters, we have diverse backgrounds. Sometimes our members come from diverse backgrounds, or the people we work with may come from diverse background. How do we manage when there's conflicts? And I think that that's something that being in a leadership position in my clubs have really, really helped me. So that's just two things. Yeah.
Thank you, Chen. You mentioned managing the team in a challenging situation. That takes a bit of courage, isn't it? Share with us. Eric, how do you position yourself? What is the tone that the leader should take in a conflict situation?
Personally, I would feel that it's more about listening. That's why in Toastmasters, we do evaluation, isn't it? The fact of the matter is the application of what we've learned in every meeting is not just for that meeting itself. Why do we have evaluation? It's essentially you are listening to the speakers, you are listening to the participants, and thereafter you try to understand where the speaker is coming from. In the situation of a team, you want to know why your members feel that way. So you have to listen from both sides. And before you make judgment, in my humble opinion, you should, or we should always applaud, encourage, recognize some of the good points that was made, be it from the two different parties, the position that they held. And then with the right choice of words, we will say, perhaps you could consider this. Perhaps you could consider the other party's stand. Because the idea being that once you acknowledge someone, the emotions will be different, as opposed to immediately you make a judgment that, oh, this is right or this is wrong. So in my opinion, I like to use my evaluation techniques to handle conflict. So that's how I do it. Thank you.
Margaret, if I may.
So putting everything to good use. Thank you. Go ahead, Terence.
Okay, because I covered things about the team, now let's take a step back and consider this. Conflict's not necessarily a bad thing. It is the type of conflict that may make things bad, but conflict itself, when you have teams, you need to fill those teams with strong characters. We know how we run our division councils, we know how we run our expos, especially AIA Toastmasters, full of strong characters, past presidents, past directors, strong people. Strong people means that we will have conflict. As long as you don't take it personally and you focus on the subject matter, it's fine. Now, where it becomes a challenge is when that conflict becomes personal, and then the primary objective is to de-escalate it, ask everyone to take a step back and consider what is actually being discussed. We are here for a common purpose, and that focus should be on that. We may differ on how to get there, but ultimately, we are still going there. And as long as we remember that, conflict by itself is not necessarily bad. But personal conflict, when you lose sight of what we are talking about, what we are challenging each other, those contentions, then it becomes a challenge. And that's where Eric's evaluation techniques come in. And he is, of course, one of our best evaluators. Thank you.
Thank you, Terence. As leaders, I think we all know that certain tech is required, especially when we give feedback in a conflict situation or in a situation where you want the best for the member, but you just need to put it across so that he gets the message. Now, in building a team, inevitably, we need to focus on ensuring that the members also take into consideration and give due respect. These are one of the core values of Toastmasters International. Give due respect to each other of their opinions. But what about if we have a situation whereby team members are really not listening? Siva, you have advised councils, excos on building a team to last and building a team that is committed to each other. Share with us your take on this.
Well, the most important thing, in fact, it's one of the frequently appearing topics in Pathways program, is effective listening. The issue is most of us are so used to speaking and not listening to the person who is talking to understand what they're trying to say. So we often are anxious to interrupt and to disrupt the whole thinking process. And that actually leads to conflict of opinions, which is not healthy. So the most important thing is effective listening and understand. We don't just listen. We have to understand what the other party is talking about. Then we can come up with a solution to whatever is not right in the whole conversation and be very cohesive in our thinking and our direction. The traditional approach to leadership is no longer sufficient in a world where there is a lot of changes happening at an exponential rate, and the generational expectations where in the millennium you need to be an authentic leader, you need to have humility and listening skills. So with that, we need to evaluate how we respond to someone when they are speaking. That is what I like to say.
Thank you, Siva.
It means becoming an authentic leader. An authentic leader is something that's often being mentioned in leadership skills, but in order to be an authentic leader, we need to have the humility. And with the humility, we can really succeed.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to hear from the panelists. How do we ensure there's a proper check and balance? There's a balance of opinions, and all these are well taken into consideration. Gerald, maybe you want to let us know how you feel about this.
Thank you, Margaret. Now, the thing is, talking about check and balance, first and foremost, in a team led by a leader, everybody, in my view, is probably an expert in their own ways, right? Those who may not be so expert may have certain perspective, which may contribute to the outcome, desirable outcome. So, in a group, the leader would, in my view, if the leader thinks that he's the one who knows it all, then he make unilateral decision, then there won't be any check and balance. but a leader who utilize and make use of the skills in the team that he has formed, meaning having trust and trusting the ability of his team member, by hearing them out, what's their view, and making that decision, that in itself is the check and balance in any team. And that's where a true leader is.
Thank you, Gerald.
Margaret, can I also share a little bit when it comes to this managing conflict and how do we have a check and balance? One of the things I think that a lot of leaders might overlook is having context setting when they set up a team. And that's something that I talk about in my workshop as well. Setting up context so key when you're setting up a team. So we talk about, in this context setting, we talk about how do we share ideas. We must create a safe environment. And I think that's what Toastmasters talk about as well, creating a safe environment, supportive environment, whereby the team must feel safe that the leaders will listen and they're not going to brush aside their ideas. Then people will share. If not, it's just like, oh, I share and then the leader doesn't listen to it. What's the point of sharing? You know what I mean? So the safe environment must be there. But to avoid the conflicts, we also talk in setting context. Leaders can set the context like, okay, when can we agree to disagree? Let's not be personal. Let's focus on the fact when we listen to ideas. And how, and these are something that as a leader, when you set up those expectations on the rules of engagement, I think that when it comes to management conflict, it's easier for the leader, because sometimes when things happen, I'll remind them, remember guys, we talked about it at the start. Let's respect each other's opinion and let's not put down another person's idea. And I think that really, really helps in managing the long-term team. Yeah, that's my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah,
indeed.
I just like to add a
yes,
final
please.
thing, if it's okay. With regards to this question of check and balance, I would suggest to James, who asked a very good question, okay, basically remind everybody in your club what it means to be a Toastmasters. Go back to the core values. Essentially, whatever problems that you face, go back to the core values of integrity, respect, service, and excellence. If you don't have integrity, you don't have respect for one another, there will not be service, there will not be excellence. So being a Toastmasters, why are we a Toastmasters in the first place? What it means to be a Toastmaster. You know, we are not other organization, we are not, how do we define ourselves as Toastmasters? It really boils down to the fact of the core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. If this is projected out and this is reminded constantly and consistently, not just to the EXCO, but to all members, then I would think that you will not face such an issue whereby people don't listen to others. In fact, people will want to listen more to one another so that we can grow as a team. That's just my humble opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Now, in this current setting, there are no more borders, no more global borders. We are but one global village. And in this global village comes a diversity of culture, ethnic groups, as well as work experiences. This is a multinational team, a community, multinational team. Now, as leaders, you will have all these talents in your community. How do you assemble the team and how do you motivate the team? In short, how do you manage a team like that? I'd like to open it to the floor. Terence, you have an input for us?
Well, I guess I can talk about how we started this journey in Division G the term before, right? Like Siva said, we began with the end in mind. And one of the first things I did when I came in as division director was pick someone that I believe could be the best successor, and that was you, Margaret. And one of the first people I actually called was actually James. And I remember the conversation. James said that I'm a very difficult person because I have strong opinions. And I said, that's why I want you. I want people with strong opinions. We want generals. We don't need water carriers. We don't need a team of people who agree on everything. We need a team of people who care enough to fight for what they believe in and can work together to a common vision. And that was the challenge. So if you're picking a team, let's not look at talents first. Let's look at values. Find people with strong opinions, find people with a track record, but more importantly, find people who can work with others to a common vision. That's how we start. Everything else can come along the way. Talent can be nurtured, but values are always inherent, and that's my belief. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you. Inevitably, these values also span different generations. We have, there's no age gap, I think. Oh, no, sorry, no age cap. I beg your pardon. Anyone above the age of 18 can join Toastmasters to age 100. So we have a cross diversity of baby boomers, Gen X, millennia with different ideologies, different behavioral patterns, different characteristics. How do you gel this team together?
Yeah, Margaret, if I may.
Please do.
Yeah, I think the challenge here is, and this doesn't just apply to Toastmasters, right? Pretty much everywhere in life, as long as there's an organization, every organization thinks about renewal. In some sense, you expect senior leadership to need to find ways to attract younger talents to step up. And then there's always going to be miscommunication. There's always going to be conflict. I remember when I was younger, I used to think, why do old people do things in funny ways? I mean, that was me being young, right? Now that I'm older, I'm thinking, why are young people so stubborn and, idealistic? Yeah. Anyway, my point here is that we all move through different stages in our life, and partly in order to communicate first, we have to understand. And I think that's where, as Siva mentioned, listening becomes paramount. But on top of listening, the person perhaps who is the project starter or the highest leader, right? They have to really, as Terence mentioned, align values. Now, if you can't find people with similar values, then you have to be able to align values. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone in the organization must have the same values in everything. I think that's practically impossible. What we have to do is to prioritize the values that you want as an organization, and then look at it from there. So for example, if we talk about a Toastmasters club, my club, Tampines Changkat, we emphasize a lot of growth, we emphasize a lot of fun, we emphasize a lot of community, right? Now, does that mean that excellence is not important? Oh, absolutely not. Just look at the way that Shuchen does anything, right? So all members want excellence as well. So now there are competing values. Which one takes priority? Is it going to be excellence? Is it going to be growth? Is it going to be fun? So on that note, it then becomes perhaps, I think, or rather, I think it would be foolish for any leader to depend on anyone else in the team to set the values. If everyone can't agree, then the leader has to take that initiative to set the values, because you are, after all, the appointed leader. So from that, get everyone to agree to a consensus, right? No one has to agree fully that this has to coincide with their personal values. Like, for example, for me, I value efficiency over excellence, which means minimal effort for acceptable outcome, right? Shuchen is maximum effort for maximum outcome. So you can imagine we have a lot of conflict. She'll say, we have to do this and that. I'm like, don't do it. Why do you need to do it? It's a waste of time. So then we have to think about, all right, so which is more important? Is it about the excellence, or is it about, growth? Do you have the resources? And then we balance things out from there. So whether this is a personal, romantic relationship, a family relationship, a Toastmasters club or an organization, it's always about the values that people assume are the same, but no one talks about. And then when you say, oh, you believe in different things, therefore we don't agree, we should argue. That's not really the point. The point is, what do we want in common moving forward? Right? So if in this case for a club, it's about members' growth, then let's look at how we can get members to grow first and foremost. So it's once again a discussion of values about handling that challenge of team leaders from different generations. If you can align the objective, align the values, everything falls into place.
Thank you, Kian. But we all come from a diverse background, and inevitably our values may differ a little bit based on our experiences, our upbringing, our beliefs. Now, Robert, how do you handle a situation whereby the values may not necessarily be in sync with either the general vision of the leader or with the corporate vision. How do you manage difficult situations in a whereby
You got to
values?
unmute yourself, Robert.
Oops. Sorry, Robert, you're still muted. Different values, and as a leader, you feel that you have to make a decision based on what you think is best for the organization.
Well, I think at the end of the day, there's a couple of things. One is the courage to do what is right, rather than what is, the accepted norm or what people want. So at the end of the day, the courage is an important attribute that a leader must have. And when I talk about courage, of course, I'm talking about different kind of courage. In fact, there are things like physical courage, for example, athletes that do some of the game that they participate in can be quite dangerous, and that require courage besides skill. There's people, and what I'm talking about in this instance, in relations to your question, would be more on the moral courage as a leader to do the right thing rather than to do the things that would make a lot of people happy. So whether it's in the corporate setting or within a club setting, I think the important thing for the leader is to ask yourself the questions. Is this the right thing to do? If this is the right thing to do, I think that's the way to go. But if you cannot in your own conscience, answer the question and say that it is the right thing, then you should not be doing that. And you should be offering alternative approaches to the situation. So I think moral courage, that the willingness to stand up to something that is you feel is morally wrong, is what is important.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, yes. So that stems from what you feel as an individual, aligned to your values, would be I would say the best decision you would make for yourself even.
But if I
Eric,
may
share with us.
if I may elaborate
yes,
on that,
Gerald, please do.
Well, when Robert said about moral courage, it comes to my mind about the value itself of the leader, because a leader must have some of the, if I may just borrow the values of Toastmasters: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. And when you talk about moral courage, how would a leader have that moral courage? In order to have that moral courage, he must be one of integrity, because that will be the driving force behind him to have the courage to make that decision. See, if he does not have that integrity, then his decision may be swayed by other factors. You see? So very important leadership, the leader must have these values first and foremost. And then that's why you will have the courage to do the right things and not be swayed by other more self-centered agendas.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you. Eric, how do you feel? How would you manage a situation like that?
One of the things that I honestly believe in is, again, what we have been learning all this time is communication. So if I may give you an example, is that in the two clubs that I am with, when I was the president of AIA Toastmasters Club, one of the things that I've done or I initiated was the club president has to talk to the members individually to understand what the members want. First and foremost, you have to understand why the members are here. You have to understand why the members are still here. You have to understand what the members want and how can the club offers that environment for the member to thrive. And in return, how can the member contribute to the club? So once you have that understanding, with everyone remembered. It goes beyond age group. It goes beyond. It transcends beyond your upbringing. It's just a matter of what each member wants. And once we have that answer, you realize that as a club, as an exco, as a team of leaders, we will be able to come up with plans, programs such as this to cater to the members and for them to be able to thrive, and achieve whatever that they hope to achieve by joining us, be it on the executive level or be it in Toastmasters. That's what I truly believe in. To answer the question of how to handle a challenge is really about understanding. Talk to them. Yeah.
Can I add on to what Eric just said?
Please do, Siva.
Yes. You see, now we are in an era where we have 3 generations working together. We have the baby boomers who are soon exiting. We have the Gen X, and we have the millennials. And these 3 have different expectations because the time when they became leaders, the situation in the world was different. We were developing, and that required a lot of persuasion and a lot of compliance, most importantly. So the Gen X were brought up by the baby boomers to be compliant. Otherwise, whatever development will not happen. Then came the millennial, the internet generation, where they came in when everything was settled and everything was well run. So they didn't go through those experiences the generations before them had. So their perceptions are completely different. So the leader should be able to engage all these 3 generations to understand why they behave in certain ways, which is different from the other. And once they understand the differences, then they can come up with a solution that can help the 3 generations to work along together. And that is very important. So the engagement is most important, like what Eric said. You have to know your members. You have the COVID situation doesn't stop you from meeting your members. You're allowed to meet at least one. And you're not going to meet so many people within a month. So if you can meet one member a month, you would have covered the 20 or 30 members that you have. And that would have established a good rapport between you and the members, and you will know how to manage expectations. So the important point here is managing expectations. Once you can manage the individual's expectations or the generation's expectation, then you will have less conflict, you have more cohesiveness and success factors.
Thank you, Siva. I'd like to draw on the lesson that International President mentioned just now, Margaret Page. She mentioned that we still need to make that personal connection, and yourself and Eric has reiterated that in the solutions that you recommended. Make that personal contact, understand what drives these individuals, be it whether they from baby boomer all the way to millennial. Something must drive them. But my question is, how do we communicate this in an overarching vision so that it is able to inspire everybody, the whole team, to move in the same direction?
In fact, you can find all these values in the Pathways program. So it's very important when a new member joins the club, before they choose the path, you interview them personally. Of course, there's an assessment in the system itself that helps, but then meeting one-to-one and understanding why they join and what is the aspiration is very important. Then we can align the value found in the correct pathway for them to embark on. And that will be very helpful.
If I
Thank
may,
you.
right? Thank you, Margaret.
We're being pointed back to the pathway. That's a good teacher pointing us back to the books. Thank you, Siva.
Since you said
share with us.
You mentioned overarching vision, right? So let's take a step back and consider this. Why are people in Toastmasters? Everyone will say something like they want to be a better speaker. And that's not really the whole story. It's like saying I want to get a driving license because I want to be a better driver. Ultimately, everybody has something they want. something personal, some unfinished business, some story that needs to be told, perhaps, giving voice to the voiceless. Ultimately, we all want to be part of something greater than ourselves, and done properly, Toastmasters offers that. As Margaret Page, our esteemed international president, said, right? It's about the human connection. But let's take it further. That human connection is simply that we want to be part of something greater than ourselves. When I first started last term as division director, and before that, I was also the club president of EIA. Eric, especially as the past president, Tutsen is past president, Gerald, yourself, all of you told us, AIA Toastmasters at 10 DCP, 18 years in a row. It's not just about the system, it's about having a culture of excellence. It was a very heavy responsibility. We spoke about Division G and what we wanted to do. And we came in at a time where the pandemic was just starting, and it was a very difficult term. All of us know people were leaving, clubs were closing. But we sat down together, all of you, right? This team and all those people who are sitting here, we sat down and we had some serious, difficult conversations. And we decided that we are going to stay and that we are going to strive for it, because why? Nothing's forever. Now is that crucible where people leave, but those who stay are further committed. Now is the time for us to realign our values, not just with pathways, but the core values of Toastmaster. Because service is about giving. Sometimes the question is not what we want for ourselves, but what we feel that we want to leave behind. If I step down from Toastmasters right now, I think I've done very well, because all of you are people that are there. I've learned from you, and I'm very proud to be part of this program and part of this division. That's what we want. We want to be able to leave and realize that we left something behind that can grow a seed. That's what I think an overarching vision is. You don't have to have the same vision as me, but you have to have a vision that grew from it. And we all can do that. Every Toastmaster. And you can apply in the real world in what you do. You can go somewhere. Just one more thing, if I can say this. The purpose of giving a speech, people don't realize it's not just about speaking. It's not what you say, it's what they hear. If you can say the right thing in the right manner, at the right moment, to the right person, and years from now, they remember those words and they are touched by it and moved by it and shaped by it, you have touched immortality. That's what words are. Over to you.
Thank you. Now, this is at this juncture in the Toastmasters calendar, we are looking, or we're building up the next generation of leaders in our midst for the club, for the division, for the district as a whole. Sound from the ground is that people are hesitant to step up. There's a certain amount of uncertainty, anxiety, and they ask themselves, am I good enough for this role? Am I ready for this role? And what if I fail in this role? What is your advice? I would like to open this to the floor. You have a candidate whom you feel will be able to fulfill the role that you have designated him or her for, but he is hesitant. How do you encourage this person to step up and believe in himself? I'd like to open it to Kin. Maybe you want to start the ball rolling on this?
Sure, Margaret. I think ultimately, when it comes to hesitancy in taking up roles, there's usually a few reasons or excuses, if you would, for people not taking it up. One is I'm not ready. Another is I have no time. But usually the real reason is that they don't know what they're going to get out of it. So for us as leaders, very often we need to think about how we frame activities. For example, when you ask someone, can you be Toastmaster of the day, please? They, oh, so scary, don't want, no time, blah, blah, blah. No, the thing is, why did you join Toastmasters? Didn't you say you wanted to be a more confident speaker? This is where you can practice. Likewise, I don't want to be area director. I don't have time. Didn't you say you wanted to be a manager at work? Do you think people will pay you to manage people at work if you can't even do it in Toastmasters? So this is about framing the reason for why we do what we do. As long as it is clear why we do what we do, or perhaps what we can get from the activities that we can do, then we'll do it. So maybe it's really a case of how can we frame it such that Toastmasters ultimately is a place to learn. It is a place to fail. It's meant to be that way, and then we learn from it and we do better. Now, I recognize that when we think about excellence as a value, that may contradict the idea that we are even allowed to fail. I also recognize that when we fail in Toastmasters, it can also be a very public failure. It's not easy to take. The point is we are a community here and there is help almost anywhere you turn. So what does that mean? Get help, learn, grow. Isn't that the whole point of what Toastmasters is about? And then when that becomes a part of you, apply it at work, everywhere else in life. If there's anyone in the room that wants to take on leadership, but is hesitant, please don't hesitate. There are a lot of accomplished leaders here who are waiting for you to ask. All you have to do is take the first step. The community will support you with every step you take.
Thank you, Kin. Gerald, share with us what you feel would be, you've spoken to many candidates in your view that were competent to step up, but you get that drill. Every person you talk to will have all these questions in their head. How do you assure them? You're a fatherly figure, you do that?
Gerald, you're muted by the way.
Gerald, yeah.
So you're talking to yourself.
I thought I unmuted myself. All right, in my 10 years or 11 years membership in AIA Toastmasters, after my president's term, I have spoken to a lot of people with the help of Linda, my past president as well, our past president as well, in getting candidates. A lot of them, yes, always say that I'm not ready and all that. So I always tell them, as what Kin said, why do you join Toastmasters? And even now, when my mentee come and tell me that, oh, my priority changed, I need to get my MDRT first before I, come back to Toastmasters. It just means that their priorities, their passion for Toastmasters is not there. So sometimes you may say, but originally you wanted to be a better speaker so that you can be a better salesperson and to achieve your MDRT. But at the end of the day, they change their mind. So very important is we talk to them, each and every one, and find out exactly what's their underlying needs, what they actually want. Same as when we sell in our job, when we try to talk to somebody to get a particular plan, is what is it they want. But sometimes if they are so set on what they want, which is not in line with what we thought is good for them, it's better to let them go. You may say, whether have I failed as a leader? I don't think so, because everybody's entitled to their own dreams and their own priorities. If I can sway them, so much the better. See, so that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Gerald. For the benefit of our audience, MDRT, an acronym for Million Dollar Roundtable, is a recognition of the top 2% of the world best or higher sales in some sense of the financial advisory services. And many sales advisory persons aspire to be that. So in other words, we want to be the best at what we do at our workplace, in our own community. And Toastmaster is a tool that can help us to hone our skills to be there. Inevitably, some members feel that it takes up time to be able to deliver on the pathways and on the commitments for Toastmasters, but it's exactly all these activities that gives us a platform to practice what we learn and what we preach of today. Thank you, Gerald.
Margaret, can I add on to
yes,
what
please do.
I think that what Kin and Gerald said, I agree with a lot of them. And I think that a lot of time people do not really know the real reason. They just are hesitant because there's some form of uncertainty at the back of their mind. And you need to help them remove that smoke screen. Sometimes they themselves couldn't really articulate the real reason. And that's when you're having a conversation, you ask them questions and you help them get clarity. What is the real reason? For example, I've spoken to a lot of people when I ask them to be president, and most of the time they say I'm not ready. But when you really zoom down about what do you need to get ready for, and then they realize that it's either they don't think they're good enough, or it's a commitment issue. And that's where you have to ask more questions. What do you think you need to do as a president? And then there's like, sometimes they overthink what they need to do. And that's where we help to clarify on the role. We also help to give them assurance and support as senior members of Toastmasters. And I think that that's very, very important. And when they feel like, hey, they are confident enough to step forward for the role because they got to support the club, they got to support all the seniors, I think that will help them to realize that, hey, this is not as bad as I think it is going to be. And normally what I'll do is I'll share my personal story. Or when I became the president of AIA Toastmasters Club, I was the youngest member in the whole club by age and by experience. So there are many more suitable candidates, but my advisor selected me. And can you imagine, I was like, I'm not ready in terms of anything. And he just told me, just take it up. I'll make sure that you be ready by then. That was what my club advisor told me then. And that was what I told some of my president candidate, for example, exco candidate leadership. I'll tell them, don't worry about getting ready. I will get you there. And that's the kind of assurance that I say, and I really make sure I fulfill what I promise them as well.
Thank you, Chen. You are the epitome of the change that Toastmasters have made, a true testament that Toastmasters made a difference in your life in more ways than one, even found you a life partner. That also applies to one of our other panelists here. Eric, share with us, what is your take on this? I mean, you've interviewed many candidates for your club exco. What was it that made them turn around from not being wanting to step up to stepping up and take on leadership positions?
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, I would like to, normally what I do, and I think this is something that I'm very privileged to have my club to instill this idea into me, whereby, in AIA Toastmasters Club, what we do before we start our meeting is we actually read out the club mission. And the club mission states that we provide a supportive and positive learning experience where members are empowered to develop communication leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. The key is we provide a supportive and positive learning experience. Who are we? I believe that the we is us, the predecessors. It's up to us to create the positive learning experience for our successor. That being said, it's about us to let them know that it's okay to fail in Toastmasters. In fact, there's no such thing as failing, in my opinion, in Toastmasters. Because just like one of my friend here, one of the panelists will say, if you want to fail spectacularly, you can only do that in Toastmasters. Why? Because in the real world, the world that we are living in right now, there is really little room for failures. If you want to hone your skill, if you want to be better, if you want to strive towards the excellence, you really need to be able to have the courage to make all the mistakes that you want. And this applies to every role. Even I believe the international president in our midst will know that in her current position, she's also learning, I believe, whereby there is actually in every role, we are not leaders because we are good, especially in Toastmasters. So this is something that I truly believe in. And that is something that I instill in my members to say that whatever you want, whatever is the reason you want to join Toastmasters, you got to embark on all this. And the last sentence I'll have to share with them will be, just like what my mentor has taught me, one of my mentors. He said, Toastmasters, it's like a 10-course meal. If you only do speeches, you're only experiencing 2 courses. If you take up contest, you're experiencing four causes. But if you take up the leadership role, you will experience the full 10 causes, and you will be able to relish the dessert, which is seeing people that come after you benefit from your leadership. And that is what I share with them. So this is
Thank
how
you,
I
Eric.
will talk. Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoy a full course dinner also with my mentor. I'd like to hear some last words from our panelists. Robert, how would this Toastmasters experience applied in the real corporate world? Do you think people at the workplace need persuasion to step up as a leader? Is this real out there? Or is this just in Toastmasters?
Well, we need leaders everywhere. You need leaderships in order to succeed in any kind of organization. Now let's talk about within Toastmaster itself. I think one of the problems why some clubs are having difficulty getting people to step up to take on leadership role in EXCO is because many times these are not something that have been planned ahead. You wait until the very last minutes when the term is about to end, and then you start worrying about who is going to be the next EXCO. What clubs should need to do is to plan early. And that will provide the opportunity for the clubs to identify one or two individuals for the different respective role, and then to work alongside the existing club president, treasurer, VP, and so on and so forth, so that they have an idea of what their responsibility would be. I think most people are afraid to step up because they are not sure they understand what the role is all about and how much time is required of them to be effective. So I think the ability for them to work alongside and watch and observe someone who is already holding that role will help. I would believe that if clubs were to try this method, it will definitely help a lot in getting more people willing to step forward.
Thank you, Robert. Siva, are you here? We see your virtual background, but not you. Okay, maybe Terence, you'd like to give us your last words on this. How do we build a team?
I think you start with people with the same vision. Fight a bit, like Susan and Kin, or Margaret and Eric, and then compromise on something that both can agree on. And then we start from there. I think I've spoken enough for today. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you. Now, we heard Gerald talked about, Eric talked about the we, Kin talked about the community, Robert talked about someone who held the role before that. Who are these people? Fellow Toastmasters. These I would loosely call the team. I recall a time when I went for a corporate event, and you know those things, you are grouped in a team, you're told to go up a 2-meter platform. Your instructor tells you, this is your team. They will back you up. They have your back. Let yourself fall and your team will catch you. And I'm thinking, I barely know this group of people. I met them just this morning. You mean I let myself fall and they will catch me? Will they? All I remembered was I had to hang on to that promise that my team has my back. So I turned around and I let myself fall. Imagine what was going through my mind. What if they miss me? What if they decide, they weren't paying attention, they were busy on their phone, and I land flat on my face with broken bones? But did all that happen? I went through the air, and lo and behold, I felt the warm hands on my back. My team caught me, ladies and gentlemen. They caught me and they landed me squarely on my feet with dignity. So, ladies and gentlemen, the team that we're talking about are your predecessors, the past presidents, the past excos, your past division council. These are the team that are here to support you, and this is the team that wants to see you all succeed. So if you need any form of advice, the know-hows, the assurance, the team is here to catch you, to land you squarely on your feet with dignity. Thank you all my panelists. With this, I hand the time back to the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you. That was a lot to digest. I've learned a lot, and the panelists makes us all hungry. Hungry to lead. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. When you have 8 people in the room sharing their knowledge and experiences, we benefit from collective wisdom. A big thank you to all the panelists and the moderator for your generous sharing. To thank all our trainers, we now like to invite Division G Director, Margaret Low, to present the certificate of appreciation to them. Zoom Master, please assist with the proceedings.
First up, we have Distinguished Toastmaster Kin Ng. Okay, we have Kin as well as Terence to present the certificates. There we go. Kin also did us all proud, as I mentioned at the start of my opening address, by representing Singapore on the world stage as a finalist for the World Championship of Public Speaking 2021. Thank you, Kin. We're immensely proud of you. So, Master?
Yes, everyone hold your pretty smile. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kin. Oh, next we have Terence. Thank you, Terence. This is indeed the brainchild of Distinguished Toastmasters Terence to put together this from its infancy, this program. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a beautiful picture. Terence, do you want to move to the front a little bit, Terence? Yeah. Okay. Very nice. Now, 1, 2, 3, smile. Beautiful. Thank you, Terence. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you. Eric, Distinguished Toastmaster Eric. Eric was instrumental also to start the ball rolling by connecting with all the new members of our club when he was club president, and that set the precedence. And it was an effort well paid out, because through that we were able to make a personal connection with each and every member, and also to understand what drives them in Toastmasters. This helped to retain the members at renewal. Thank you, Eric.
Wonderful. Now let's take a photo together. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Eric. Next up, we have Distinguished Toastmaster Gerald Young. Gerald was the first person to introduce me to the concept of clubbing. And through these, I had interaction with other clubs. I was also able to hone some of my evaluation skills at student clubs as a language evaluator as well as a project evaluator. So that greatly enriched my Toastmasters journey. Thank you, Gerald.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Gerald, you want to say something?
I said you're welcome.
Okay, now put on your brightest smile. 1, 2, 3. Very nice, thank you. Okay.
We have distinguished Toastmaster Robert Ng.
Robert.
Thank you, Robert. There we are. Robert has been a very a leadership steward in District 80, also mentoring some of the very new Toastmasters in our midst. We thank you for your time and your devotion, Robert.
Wonderful. Now, smile please. 1, 2, 3. Very nice, thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
We have Zhuo Shuzhen, distinguished Toastmaster Zhuo Shuzhen. Zhen is the epitome of excellence in the core values of Toastmasters. And if there's one person I know who does anything and does it to the best of her ability, it's Zhen.
Okay. The Wonder Woman, put on your big smile. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Thank you, everyone.
And finally, we have Siva.
Siva. Siva, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, we hear you.
And here you are.
There we go. Siva is a very patient mentor, and he's mentored many new Toastmasters as well as budding clubs in his division and also district-wide. We appreciate Siva for his time and devotion.
For the wonderful mentor, put on your big smile. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you.
We would like to recognize Kwan Hong, even though he's unable to join us this afternoon, for his contribution in the Executive Leadership Incubator workshop. Thank you.
Okay, I take a screenshot for him. So,
Okay.
and Terence smile for Kwan Hong, please. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Zoom Master Tui. I'll hand the time back to the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret Low. I really like your short introductions about each of the trainers, and they are all our superheroes today. And I am sure Margaret Page knows better than us as she goes clubbing around the world. So next, we will have, our next segment is how do we become wise men and women? We have to receive wisdom from others. And now we will receive some words of wisdom from the District 80 Director, Kathy To, DTM. Over to you, Kathy.
All right, splendid afternoon to our International President, Distinguished Toastmaster Margaret Page, as well as our district leaders, both from District 80 as well as across the entire Toastmasters districts. Very good afternoon to one and all. Today, we are at the last leg of the Leadership Incubation Program. Now, all this program is there for a purpose. It is to encourage our members to find their passion among themselves. But after all this, what do we need? We need you to take the action, not only to step out and lead your members, but first of all, step out to lead yourself, to make you believe that you have that ability to make things better. Every change starts from ourselves. If we can believe in that change, the transformation among us will encourage people around us to step up and step out. Step out of your comfort zone, step up to take up leadership position, lead yourself, lead your members to achieve excellence. Because all these things will come to nothing if we never make that change, if we never take action to practice or to effect what we want to see. This year in District 80, we have 3 ladies in district trials. You may find that it might be refreshing, but there are still differences among us, but we all practice on healthy conflict because there are no one single method to resolve any issue. We will discuss among ourselves and make the best decision and the choice for the district and the strategy to move and make things perfect. But we will need your help. If the members and our fellow leaders is not here to support us, any decisions that we make as a district chair is just NATO. All action and no talk. We need you to take action so that whatever choices that we have, it is for the best of the district. Words of wisdom, I would prefer action of choice and to make the district not only distinguished district, but smartly distinguished district. And I'll pass the stage now back to our TMD. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. And Margaret Page must be thrilled to learn that the top 3 highest ranking officers in District 80 are all women. Thank you, Kathy, for the call for actions. And with that, it's almost at the end of the program and time for 2 important announcements. What are the 2 most important events remaining for us for Division G? Is the contest season. So upcoming on the 9th of April is the Division G contest. Please note down this date. And also on the 11th of June, which is our Achievers Day. So mark down these 2 important dates. And with that, I would now like to invite our Division G Director, Margaret Low, back again for the closing address. Margaret.
Thank you, Dex. I would like to invite back on stage International President, Distinguished Toastmaster Margaret Page, to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Margaret. I hadn't anticipated that, but I do appreciate the opportunity to speak again with the members here that were part of the incubator, but particularly the trainers. You did a stellar job, and I got to hear so much about your perspectives and what you have been teaching the members and sharing your wisdom, your training. And I could only say bravo, bravo, bravo for all of you. I do want to share that there is, my perspective is that there is a breadth to leadership and a depth to leadership. And you covered various aspects of that in many of your comments. But I'd like to clearly define a little bit about the breadth of leadership, because I think sometimes people don't understand it and so don't push themselves a little bit further. So first of all, of course, you lead yourself, and then you lead people that are like you, and then you lead people that are not like you. And the research shows that only about 10% of people in corporations have the ability to make that leap, that they can lead people and transform them. Only 10%. That's not a high percentage. Beyond that, there is still 2 levels. Beyond that, there is creating a movement, such as Terence has begun to create with his movement, his ideas. So you create a movement that goes beyond you. And the 5th depth in the breadth of leadership is to create something that goes beyond your lifetime, such as Toastmasters International or some of our great religious leaders. And so there's that breadth. And sometimes in Toastmasters, People are really good, of course, that's how they came in here. They're really good at the first step, leading yourself. And then they become quite good at leading people that are like them, people in their own club that are very similar to them. But that leap of getting people all on board, saying yes and appreciating those different ideas, that's where the challenge is. And then going beyond there, once you have accomplished that you can lead diverse people. Now it's time to begin movements and then leave legacy programs such as our Dr. Smedley. One other piece I would like to share with you. One of the most famous lines in World Championship of Public Speaking, and I would consider this the depth of a message, is I see something in you. So when we are looking for people in leadership, see something in people. See in them, my goodness, you were a great organizer. Terrence, you are amazing with your setting a big project, setting a goal, and getting people on board and persuading them. You would be really good at your next step. What is your next step, Terrence?
Actually, I haven't thought about it because I'm still busy with our company. We are raising funds.
All right. All right. But the point is, sometimes we go up to people and as one of the trainers pointed out, you can't seed and harvest in the same day. That just doesn't work. So you need to be seeding for leadership every step of the way. But see things in people first. And that's a sales job when you always understand their needs first. What are their needs? Well, when we're building leaders, we always see things in them because that's their identity. This is an important piece, their identity. When we see in them their identity, we want to live into that. We want to be that. We want to be enough. And when we are stepping into what people see as our identity, that feels good to us. They've acknowledged something of who we are. That's way different than we have these tasks here. We have an area director that job that needs to be filled. See things in people and they will grow. We are a people optimizing organization. Your job is to see their secret sauce, their X factor, and build it. I'm sorry I took so much time. I will send it back to Dex. Dex, you've done a brilliant job with your humor, keeping us on task. You all did an amazing job. I'm so proud and privileged to have been here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Sorry, Margaret Low, if I can just interject, not to make it an anti-climax, but I do realize that we have not presented the certificate of appreciation to the appointment holders. Would you like to do that
yes,
before you do the
definitely.
So can we have the
Now, this event was a concerted effort of the entire division as well as the district. We want to thank you for the following people for supporting this program, in particular today, our Toastmaster of the Day, Dex Yuan. Thank you for helming the event, without which we will not be able to put all this together. Thank you, Dex. And on time. The hallmark of Toastmasters. Thank you, Dex. We have Regime. Our timer. Yes, Regime was instrumental in ensuring that we are all aware of our timing and ensuring that we keep to that time. Thank you, Regime. Oh, you're out. Okay, Zoom Master, thank you. Are we good, Zoom Master?
Sorry, I was talking to myself.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you, Regine. Tui, our lovely Tui, our Zoom Master 1.
Oh, nice. Now I can spotlight myself.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Tui,
Thank you, everyone. My pleasure.
for working behind the scenes and ensuring that we have a place to meet, a safe environment to meet. Thank you.
Thank you for all other appointment holders.
Okay, come look at the camera. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Eric.
Eric.
We have Pia Kim, Zoom Master 2.
Picky.
In any setting, we ensure that the show must go on. So there is always a backup plan. And the backup plan is as important as the first backup plan.
Yeah, put on the big smile, the important backup plan. 1, 2, 3, smile. Beautiful. Thank you.
These are the members that are in place to ensure that they catch us if we fall and ensure that we land squarely on our feet. And Hina, she's been hard at work preparing the slides, the certificates, the virtual background, and ensuring that all our collateral goes out to all our social media and chats to promote this event. Thank you, Hina.
Thank you, Hina. Now we have take a photo together. Although we cannot see your smile, but 1, 2, 3, smile. Beautiful. Thank you, Hina.
Thank you for your efforts, Hina. Well done.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, myself as a moderator. Oh, I'm going to be so lonely out here. Put Terence here, please.
Okay, Terence, where are you, Terence? Where's Terence? Okay, it's here.
I'll let you know
Thank
when
you,
I find him.
Terence.
Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you.
Oh, now I give a cert back to Terence for being the organizing chairperson.
Okay, now another big smile. 1, 2, 3, smile. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Fellow Toastmasters, a lot has been said, a lot has been learned, but let not your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action. This has come many a fold from the various leaders that have spoken this afternoon. And for the new leaders, remember this, have that faith. The team is here to catch you and land you squarely on your feet with dignity. With this, I'll close the session for this afternoon. Thank you everyone for your attendance. Keep a lookout for this space in Division G. I trust we will have more programs rolled up for the coming term. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, International Director Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret. And Margaret.
Thank you. Wonderful job, everyone.
Thank you. Good job.
We all had a good time.
Yay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Everybody.
Good rest, International President Margaret. It must be like 4 a.m.
Good night.
Oh my God, it's very late. Yeah. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Li Xian.
Hi, everybody. Let's go and plant some seeds.
That sounds so wrong.
See.
My kid, please.
See people
I've seen a
and
better choice of
see
words.
people.
I'm just quoting the main message. You know, yeah, plant your seeds. I'm not saying leave them everywhere. I'm not saying I'm just saying plant some seeds.
Remember in the Bible, if
And
you waste your
keep
seed,
them in
it's a
your own
great-
garden.
In the Bible, if you waste your seat, it's a great sin. Huh?
Yeah, is that so?
Yeah, it's called onanism. In fact, that should be the word.